Hello there, and look, it's Sunday afternoon here, and this is going to be a simple one. We're just going to talk about onboarding people. Sounds simple. This is one of the most straightforward things in business, most valuable things in business, and most badly done in business, or certainly most commonly badly done. We're just talking about how best to bring on new staff and induct them and onboard them so they get up and running quickly. I'm Andrew Laurie from BGB, and I'm going to share with you the 3 things that I believe make all the difference when you're bringing a staff member on board. Now, to start with, let's assume that we've all experienced the opposite, and it's not fun. You've got a new team member joining, you're excited, you recruited someone, and let's assume you recruited someone fairly well. If you're recruiting bad people, well, go and look at some of my blogs or videos on how to recruit better. But let's assume you've recruited someone well, and then you go through that process where initially they're not quite getting going. You've told them what they're supposed to do. You've pointed them to their desk. You've given them a computer. You've checked that they've got qualifications. So you assume they can do the job, and you let them loose, get going. And sadly, they don't get going. You get a bit irritated. You get a bit frustrated in the first 2, 3, 4 weeks. Then it starts to really grate on you. You really think, hang on a second, I've recruited you. You told me you had qualifications, or I checked that you'd had the right experience before, whatever is relevant to the job. And now after a month, after 2 months, after 3 months, now you're just annoying me. It reaches the point after a few months where you're slightly dreading seeing these people. By about month 6, typically, you make the decision and get rid of them. You've wasted 6 months and you've got to go back and start again. That's not what we're talking about here. Let's get people in, let's get great people in, and then let's get them successful and productive quickly. Okay, point number 1. You've got to spend time on it. In the history of the world, I don't think anyone has ever failed an onboarding process, an induction process, by not spending, well, put it the other way, they've never failed it by spending too much time on it. They've never failed by spending too much attention, too much focus, and investing too much, well, of their time into it. I've seen countless fail because not enough time has been put into it, not enough attention has been put into it. Basic rule of thumb, if you're the manager recruiting, so this new staff member is reporting to you, then basic rule of thumb is you need to spend at least 20 hours with them in the first week, 10 in the second, 5 in the third. Now, for some jobs and certain circumstances, you'll need to do more than that. But as a starting point, that's what you need to do. And I know that sounds like quite a lot to many people, but if that new staff member gets productive and starts really contributing within the first month, that's brilliant. It's a great sensation when you bring someone new on board and they start adding value quickly, compared with what I described before, which is misery and horrible. So invest the time into it. Put the focus and the attention into it. Second point, be careful, be specific, be intentional about what you cover and what that new team member experiences in those first few weeks. And make sure it's broad enough. Now, it starts with being specific. So for example, on day 1, give them a calendar, a schedule for the first 1, 2, 3 weeks. And that should lay out when they're going to meet various people they need to meet, when they're going to undertake certain activities they need to undertake, do some work. I assume they're going to start doing their job, when they're going to learn certain aspects of the business. So it's nice and clear to them. Day 1, this is how the first few weeks are going to look. And that ensures also that they cover all the things they need to cover. And that should be quite a broad list. It's not just, here's your computer, here's how you get your login to the system, that's where your desk is, that's where the toilet is, and here are the 2 people you sit next to. This should be a broad coverage of what's required to be successful. Give them an understanding of what the business is all about, the history, the future, the strategy, the plans for the future. Give them a really good understanding of the culture that you expect in the business. Absolutely introduce them to the people that they'll be working with. Maybe it means introducing them to customers as well, or suppliers, other stakeholders that are relevant to them. Give them a good insight to what their future could look like, what you'd like to see of them, not just immediately, but going into the future, where they could develop and evolve, what could be next, what opportunities could arise. Give them a great understanding of what it looks like and what's required to be successful and contribute in this business. So make sure you've got a clear plan for them, a clear schedule, a calendar for them for those first few weeks, and make sure it covers everything that's required for them to be successful. Third and final point, give them absolute clarity around expectations. And I don't just mean giving them a job description. That's a good idea, of course. And that should give them some understanding of their accountabilities, their responsibilities. Excellent. But in particular, I'm going to focus on the early period, because to me, half the trick here, if not 90% of the trick here, is getting them successful quickly. New staff members who get going quickly, get productive, get successful, get embedded into the team, they tend to then go really well into the future. The problem is when it doesn't go well in those first couple of months. So in particular, what I'm going to emphasize here, give the new team member absolute clarity about where they need to be at the end of month 1 and the end of month 2. Most people in most jobs won't be fully productive until whatever it takes, 3 months or something like that. So don't assume they're going to be fully productive after a couple of weeks. But if this is full productivity, be clear on them. If that's where we're aiming for after 3 months, you should be here at 2 months. What does that look like? What will I be able to observe of you? What will I be able to measure from you? What outputs will you have? What will you be able to do at that point? And therefore, at month 1, what will I be able to observe and what will I be able to measure? For example, a new salesperson. If this is full productivity, sales being made, closing deals, well, at month 2, it might be closing your first deal. It might be having added 10 people to the database. It might have been hosting 1 event. Well, at month 1, it might simply be making a certain number of calls, introducing yourself to a certain number of people, creating a certain number of connections. It might simply be at the end of month 1 demonstrating that you can present our product, our service, if you're a salesperson. So be really clear about month 1, month 2. And in my experience, when someone is at their most motivated, they're new in the job, they've just got it. If they've got that clarity and you're able to point out to them after month 1, you're not quite on track because they knew day 1 where they should be at month 1. You then give them further training, support, coaching, whatever it is. And then at the end of month 2, they're still not on track. They're not going to make it. Avoid the agony. Avoid that prolonged stress and misery of the person not working out. Good news is, if you give them that clarity and that support, they're going to make it most times. But at least if they don't, you'll know quickly and you can take a different path. So get clear on it quickly, give them the support, commit your time to it, and enjoy the thrill. Enjoy having new staff members who get up and running, successful and highly productive for your team really quickly. All the best now.